We ran a experiment about a decade ago now, but on Heron Island, where we were pumping in CO2 charged water through these tanks that had all kinds of measuring devices where we could measure the PCO2 in real time and so on. So we had this tank on the island that we charged up to twice pre-anthropogenic CO2 in equilibrium with the water. So if you look at CO2 in the atmosphere today, it's at, say, 412 ppm. But over the Holocene, over the past 10,000 years, it's been at about 280, give or take a handful.
So what does that mean? So break that down a little bit, like the discrepancy in the numbers.
So it's a concentration by volume measurement. So if you had 200 ppm, or parts per million, and you had 400 ppm, that means you doubled the amount of CO2. So before we started pumping all the CO2 into the atmosphere during the Industrial Revolution, we were at 280. So if you double that, it's 560. So we had a tank full of water that was treated so that it had an equilibrium CO2 of 560. And we started pumping it into the experimental chamber, and it was a bright, sunshiny day, like it is here today in Canberra, and we weren't seeing anything, and we thought there was something wrong. And again, to cut a longer story short, it was simply the fact that the turf algae on the bottom of this flow-through chamber was actually metabolizing that CO2 so efficiently, just eating it like candy, just going, nom, 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 nom. We'll take that and make organic matter out of it. That between only the sort of meter distance between where we were pumping that water in and where we were measuring it, all the CO2 was eaten up. And it was only at night when the respiration was taking place that we saw the effects of putting this CO2 enriched water into this chamber. And that was just really, really cool to see. And as far as I was concerned, I was stunned at how efficient that turf algae was. Because if you look at the sand, it just looks white. We wouldn't even know there was that much photosynthesizing material there. And so you learn these things and you're in awe of